Thank you for joining this week's Paralegal Power Break, 25 Tips to Improve Legal Research Skills. In this particular session, we'll be going over search tips for power users, security and privacy online, general search tips, some really good legal resources that you can use in your searching, how to search for government resources, and then some other research tips that you can put into use. Now, even if you are an advanced researcher, these tips can be extremely helpful because we'll be covering things like security and privacy. And I know you might be wondering what security and privacy has to do with researching, but it has a lot to do with researching because of the way that we research now. Typically, we don't, as researchers or paralegals or legal professionals, rely solely on a physical law library in order to locate information. We mostly rely on the web, whether that be through paid legal databases or through free databases on the internet. But we are still accessing this information over the internet. So when we get to the section where we talk about security and privacy, it's important to take note of those particular tips so that when you are researching, you're not exposing yourself, your firm, or your organization to viruses and other potential threats when conducting your research. You want to research, but you want to research not only effectively but also safely. So these are some things that we'll be covering in this section. So again, even if you're an advanced legal researcher, there's a lot of information that you can learn from this particular session. So first we'll start off by talking about search tips for power users, those individuals that are an advanced level of researching, or those that would want to become legal research power users. You want to use the help section. The help section is important, especially if you are new to a particular legal research system, because the help section will give you information about how to handle Boolean search terms, including phrase searches. Now that term might be new to you, Boolean searching. Those are things that are used like and, not, or, quotation marks or parentheses or symbols. That allows you to narrow down your search so that when you are looking for a certain information, you're not pulling a vast amount of documents, because that's what makes legal research ineffective or effective. The amount, first of all, locating the information that you're looking for, but also minimizing the time that you're looking through a lot of information. So I'll give you an example. If you're looking for a case that's related to a dog bite at, let's say, a grocery store, it's really effective to be able to, when you're doing your researching, put Boolean searching in so you can exclude a, let's say, a fall at a grocery store. You want to be right on. So if you've ever heard of the terminology you use, finding on-point cases mean that the case that you're looking for is pretty much, you want to have it mirror the particular case that you are working on. So if a client's case that you're working on is dealing with a dog bite in a grocery store, you want to avoid looking at cases that are not relevant or on point to that particular type of cases. Not to say that a slip at a grocery store, there might not be some information that you can glean from that, because there might be some laws or issues at play in that particular case that are at play in the other case. But the more you can find a mirror case, the better it is for you to be able to narrow down on laws and regulations and cases that are in line with the argument that may be brought at trial or settlement, or when creating motions and other legal documents. So it's important to understand, again, Boolean search terms, and the best way to find that, how specific to a particular research database, is going to the help section. Now also, I just mentioned with the Boolean searching, so I'll just briefly touch on that again. The most common Boolean search terms or symbols are the word and, A-N-D, or the plus sign, not, or the minus sign, or and a slash, or phrase searching using quotation marks or parentheses. So like with the and, when you put in the word, let's say dog and grocery store, you're going to pull up cases that have those words dog and grocery store in it. You can also exclude things. You can say, okay, I want to pull up cases with the dog in it, but I want to exclude all the word walking, or whatever the case may be. So these particular search terms allow you to be more efficient in your research, so you're not pulling up hundreds of cases that you have to go through. It narrows down your search, so you're more able to find what you're looking for that's related to your particular case or client. Now, another tip is to understand the invisible web. The invisible web is also referred to as the deep web. These are things like PDF documents and sound files that you're not going to locate by researching in the way that you look for websites and things of that nature. There's a different way to be able to access that particular type of information, but you may need that information and may help you in what you're researching for. You may want to look at a PDF document. You may want to look at some type of sound file or recording of some sort that will give you some more information on the project that you're working on. So it's important to know how to tap into the invisible web to look for some particular types of files. And there are some specific ways that you can look for that. Now, FindLaw, which is a legal research site, actually taps into this for you. And then you can also use some other specialized search tools like Complete Planet, which also taps into the deep web. Now, another tip is to learn how to use your browser effectively. Using the forward and back button on your browser to go back to sites that you visited. Also bookmarking certain pages that you go to a lot, so you don't have to either remember the website address or type it in every time. You have bookmarks, and you can also categorize them so that you know specific cases related to, let's say, criminal law. You can go on that particular folder or tab, and it'll locate all the sites related to that. So when you're researching those particular types of cases, you can pull up those sites quicker. And there's also different browser tools that you can use, like your history. It allows you to track the history, everything that you visited for several days. Now, this is important if you don't remember what page you visited, but you know that there was some relevant information you want to look at. Now, this is also important to keep in mind when you are searching. Let's say you're doing some work from home, or you are working at someone else's computer at work. You can also delete your search history. Or let's say you're at the library, you can delete a search history. So the search history is not only important to know in order to be able to revisit sites that you've been to, but also if you're working in a public area and you want to delete what sites you visited on that particular computer, you can delete that history. And you can also change the text size that appears on your monitor, and this is usually done on the view menu. So those are just some browser specific tools that you can help when you are conducting research. Another great tool or tip is to use a research toolbox. Now, a research toolbox, some researching systems have a toolbox or some place where you can store cases that you're researching for. Then you also have, those come like within LexisNexis, and I know Thomson Reuters have those particular type of tools available within their system. And then there's also Kletsy, which is broad-based searching, but it helps for create custom search folders. You can keep track of what you're searching for by date, by case, or whatever is helpful to you in your researching. Now, I discussed previously importance of conducting secure and private searching, or making sure information is secure and private while you are conducting your research. So you want to keep your eye out for viruses or things that may contain viruses. You want to understand viruses and the behavior of viruses. Like you have, and then you want to be able to defend against those viruses. Now, viruses, you know, we hear the terminology all the time, and it's important to get a specific definition of what a virus is and actually what it does to your computer. It actually reprograms your computer. It's a program that if you open an email or go to a certain site or whatever the case may be, it is going to reprogram your computers to do or not to do some things. You know, you may get a virus sometimes, and whenever you try to open up a particular type of file, it seems like your computer just spazzes out. That's a virus. That's a program that's been put on your computer, and you also, your computer might be prevented from opening up certain type of documents. Those are viruses, and there are two aspects for they're viruses, and there's vector and payload. And vector is how the virus propagates, and then payload is what the virus does other than the propagate. It messes up documents, it deletes files, it just pretty much attacks your computer. Now, you can defend against vector viruses by using antivirus software, and also turn off email HTML options. You can set your browser to warn when you are sites want to write on your hard drive. And also there's a way to defend against payload viruses. The important thing with this, because again, payload viruses will delete files on your computer, mess up documents. So if a file is deleted, if you have a virus that's a payload virus, it's going to delete files on your computer. They're gone. It's not a matter of creating issues with how you can access documents. It's pretty much just deleting those documents altogether. So the best way to prevent against those type of viruses is to back up your files on a regular basis, even if whether you do a manual backup or you have one that's automatically done. You want to back up your files frequently, so if you ever get a virus, you have access to these particular files. Turn off macros, and then you want to use products that are not vulnerable to virus attacks, because some programs, some vendors, their programs, it's not so easily for those particular products, you know, to allow other programs to reprogram them. So it's important to use those type of products and those programs. And, you know, being careful when you go to certain sites, you know, confirming whether there's a hoax. If you get an email, you know, win $50,000 in the heading or whatever the case may be, or win a round trip to every Caribbean island, you know, those type of things, you don't even want to open them, because a lot of times once you open an email, it is going to expose your computer to a virus. And so when you're doing searching, we talked about searching before on the deep web, you have to be careful with going to the deep web, because a lot of times those kind of documents, because they're not housed, or they're not located the same way that other files are located, you might be finding information that could be more vulnerable to viruses. So you want to be careful, not in just opening up emails, but also visiting certain sites. And, you know, use a your whatever, if you have an antivirus program, or if you don't have one, it's a good idea to get one, but go to the main virus programs or companies that offer virus programs like McAfee, Norton, and then Snoops, in order to be able to get up-to-date information on viruses, and then how to deal with them and get patches for any viruses. And with privacy, you want to understand what privacy encroachment is and how that actually happens. You know, sometimes you may sign up for newsletters, or you may go to different websites in order to get information. We're going to talk about later how you can sign up for newsletters and web blogs in order to get information on different practice areas or laws. And when you do that, sometimes it requires for you to put in your email address, or even if you're downloading PDF files. Let's talk about, again, we go to that deep web and there's a PDF, and you may have to put in your email address in order to access that particular PDF. Sometimes that's done in order to, get your information so that you can stay up to date with updates that are going on, with that particular organization or that company. But sometimes it's a way to be able to get your email address in order to get private information about your computer, like your IP address. But you can change this. Your IP address can be changed, so you want to figure out, maybe ask the IT person in your firm how you do that. If that's allowed, you can do that, because your IP address can, when you go to certain sites, it can be accessed, and this allows people to get different information about your computer. And then understanding the risk of always on connection. When you have DSL or cable connection, if you're always connected to the web, this exposes your computer more, so you may want to turn that off or take that capability off, like when you're away from the office. Limit information sharing, and just being very careful of how you access different information and who you provide your email address to. You may want to go to one way that you can avoid privacy encroachment or exposing yourself to different viruses and hoaxes is to use a certain email address. This is specifically important to your privacy, is use a certain email address when you are registering for certain things. When you're registering for newsletters or whatever the case may be, you may want to use a different email address than your email address that you use for conducting business. Now, these are some general search tips that you can use when you are actually conducting research outside of security and privacy, and just staying safe when you're doing your online search, and creating toolbox and things and browsing the web. These are actually search specific tips. One is not to get stuck on one search tool. You don't have to use one research system program in order to find what you're looking for. A lot of times, if you open up your method of searching for different information, a lot of times you'll find that you can find what you're looking for quicker, and you can find maybe more information, because different databases have different ways that they have their information stored. And so it may be easier to find information in one database than it is in another. And all of these research systems like Westlaw, LexisNexis, Lois Law, Google Scholar, FindLaw, you have to look at it as a database. It's like Google. Google, even though we considered it's a browser, Google really, and how it started was, it was a huge database, a way of being able to organize information and allowing people to access information on the web. But they have different algorithms that they use which allow you to find this information. Same thing with Lexis, Westlaw, and Lois Law. These are databases, legal specific databases that have cases, legislations, regulations stored within them, and they have them stored differently. And so one search tool may be easier for you to use when conducting a specific type of search. If you're looking for a case, if you're looking for secondary sources, one database may be more conducive to that than another. So you don't want to get stuck on one research tool. You want to keep in mind that you're looking for information, and you want to locate this information efficiently as possible. So if you get stuck on one tool, your loyalty is not to a particular tool or system. You may love Westlaw, you may love LexisNexis, you may love Lois Law, you may love Google Scholar, but it's not about being loyal to one search tool. The goal is to find the information that you're looking for that's the most relevant to the case that you're working or your project in the most efficient way. because the paid databases are paid. You have to pay for those things. And when you go, accessing different documents, may charge, there's different rate structures. So being loyal to one system may not be the most effective way to search. You also want to use directories. There's different directories that you can use to locate information that will help you. There's librarians index to the internet. Then there's an open directory project. These allow you to search. They're not browsing related. I'm sorry, they are browsing related. They're not search related, but they actually allow you to have access to a lot of different information. Then there's also news searching. But when you're looking for news-based information, you want to go to resources that are specific to that, like Yahoo News. Instead of just doing a broad search in a browser, you want to go to sites and resources that are specific to news, like Google News, Yahoo News, FindLaw News, CNN. They have a website. It's cnn.com/law when you're looking for news-based research. And so that allows you to be more effective, again, because you're not searching the entire web. You're going to specific sites that are tailored to news research. Also, when you're searching, follow a weblog. If you're unfamiliar with legal research and how information is categorized, you have your primary sources and then you have your secondary sources. Primary sources are typically your laws and your regulations, your statutes. The secondary sources are information that gives you an explanation of those cases, laws, and statutes. Weblogs, you can look at those as a source of secondary information. There are a lot of law firms and lawyers create blogs on specific topics. Maybe a specific topic related to a particular practice area. It may be a topic related to a particular area of law. And these weblogs allow you to gain a lot of information from people that are experts in that particular area. And so you have law firms that have blogs, attorneys that have blogs, and then you have other weblogs or blogs. Then you also have research newsletters that are typically created by organizations, associations, paralegal associations, bar associations. Some firms may have newsletters that they create to provide information to their followers or those that have subscribed to their newsletter. Now, these are some really the best legal resources, and these are typically free. You have a legal WA, which stands for abbreviation for Washington.org, and this is a cooperative between the Washington Bar Association, Washington Code Revisor, pretty much to provide the Washington legal community with free access to the law. Then you have FindLaw, and this is now owned by Thomson Reuters, and it's a free legal research site that provides access to a database of different laws and other legal resources. You have the University of Southern California Journal Search. You can find their legal journals on the web at lawreview.org. And then you have Hyros Gamos, which is located at www.hd.org, and they just have a variety of information on, pretty much anything legal related. They have information available on different association, international law. It's a vast site and database of legal resources, so it's a great place to go for information, not just on international law, but different associations and a lot of other information related to the legal professional and the legal community. And there's also law library websites. These are all free sites that have information available to help you with your legal researching. You have the University of Washington, Gallagher Law Library, Washington State Law Library, Legal Information Institute. They all have sites that you can go to in order to assist with your legal research and to access federal and state law on the web. And when you're looking for government sources like regulations and proposed regulations, you can go to sites that are specific to the government. And you have FirstGov, regulations.gov, which is a one-stop shopping for proposed federal regulations. So regulations that are being proposed, they actually haven't been passed yet, or laws haven't been passed, but they're proposed. Then you have Thomas, which is located at Thomas, it's THOMAS.LOC.gov, and this is a collection of legislative information like bill summaries, roll call votes, and committee reports. And then you have individual agency sites. So if you're looking at tax related laws, tax updates, you can go to the IRS's website, which is irs.gov. And then EDGAR is a newly revised website of the SEC. And then the White House, if you want to find different federal agencies, you can visit the White House website. Other tips you can get is just keeping up with legal technology and using an RSS feeder. So if you want to contact us, you can reach us on our customer service line. It's listed here. And if you want to sign up for a free paralegal membership, go to this website. So thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week.